And welcome back to the Strongest Trainer series. I have not done this in ages, but with a week off, I figured I can get another episode out. So, since it's been a while, just to recap, I decided to figure out who do I think is the strongest trainers in the series of Pokemon, the games. And so I decided to start with the gym leaders. Now we start with the first gym leader, the second gym leader, and now we're on the third gym leader phase. The way I decided to do this is if these in-world games, if these in-world characters in the games fought each other, who is the strongest one to come out of there? That's the way I determined it. And I'm using the strongest team they have when you first fight them. So because some characters are in multiple games, there are multiple remakes. I decided to find the strongest team there. So, without further ado, let's get into it. And coming up in the rear is, once again, Johto with Whitney. Now, why is Whitney the weakest one? Well, sad to say, Whitney, is that Johto does not have the best track record right now in this series. You see, Whitney's team consists of Clefairy and Miltank, who's at level 17 and 19, respectively. Clefairy has Mimic, Metronome, Double Slap, and Encore, whereas Miltank can Stomp, Milk Drink, Rolla, and Attract. And you think, Whitney is notoriously horrible to deal with. Why is she the last place? Because she can't beat any of the other gym leaders. All the other gym leaders, for example, Lance Surge's team from, Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, all out-level her by a huge margin. Her strongest is level 19. His weakest is level 25. What about in Wattson's team, who from Emerald, who I would deem his weakest team? Even his two weakest are stronger level-wise than her strongest, and even as fast as that Miltank is, if that Miltank gets going against Wattson, I did consider her being able to beat him, but the minute that Voltorb goes down, or the minute, he's honestly probably going to use Self-Destruct before it goes down, and then bring out the Magaton, which being a Steel type would be resistant to Rock. Well, then Maylene from Pearl is far stronger. He also has the type advantage, so that's not going to do anything. And then if you go with Korrina, is it Korrina? Sorry. Fantina, sorry. I was about to say Korrina. Korrina's someone else. From Platinum, who is the third gym leader at that point, her Miltank's the only bet you got, really. It does have Scrappy, but that's not going to be enough, really. Her normal type moves would be neutral against this thing. Then, as Burgh with his challenge mode, Black and White 2 is the only exception where challenge mode was acceptable, because that is their strongest team you can play in game the first time you fight them. Again, just completely out-leveling. Burgh was one, though, that I did consider her being able to beat, because it is a type that she is strong against, with that rollout attack being Bug. Problem is, you have Sturdy on Dwebble, and Leavanny is still much stronger with, frankly, enough moves to put that thing down. But I did consider it. Then you go to Korrina, who is the Kalos gym leader, the fighting type gym leader, and again, simply out-leveled and out-typed in this category. Then you have Kabu, who again, just completely out-levels the Miltank by a huge margin. And now, Set the Scorch, despite its look, is not that fast. And keep in mind, I also didn't do any sort of gimmicks with these trainers. So if a trainer is using, for example, Gigantamax, we're not including that. No terrestrialization either. And no trainer in Kalos, ironically, used a Mega Evolution. So, except Maylene in a non-gym battle. Side note, that is kind of stupid that none of the Kalos gym leaders used Mega Evolution except for one and not in the fight. And I think it would have made more sense for maybe the second half of the gym leaders, second strongest gym leaders, to actually, the four strongest gym leaders of the region to use Mega Evolution to illustrate it. So, my opinion. And then finally, you have Iono, who again, Rock isn't actually strong against electric. I used to think that as a kid all the time, but it's not. It's just neutral, which I find weird. But she again is out over levels. Her team is over leveled compared to yours, and because of things like intimidate, which as soon as that rollout gets happening, that Luxio comes in and just kind of puts a big stopgap into Milk Tank's role. And then you have Miss Magius, who luckily has Charge Beam. Unfortunately, Hex isn't going to work, but I'll admit this is another one where I did definitely consider it. The only problem is that your only real choice against this team is Milk Tank. The Clefairy is going to get clipped pretty fast, even by the weakest of any of these other teams. So unfortunately, Whitney made it down into the weakest spot here. But that's our number 9 spot, our weakest third gym leader. So who is the second weakest? Who's our 8th strongest, our second weakest gym leader here? And the answer to that is our good old friend, Lieutenant Surge. Now, why is that? When I just said his team overleveled hers, I mean, we look at Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. Mind you, they don't have abilities in that game, which I find very stupid. There's a reason I never played these games, honestly. But if we're looking at his level and the moves given, I mean, that Raichu has Thunderbolt and Double Kick. That's not a bad combo at all. If you really just look at his Mon that he's had previously and just apply, say, abilities that they would have had, which is basically what I did. For example, his Voltorb would have had Soundproof, his Magneton or Magnemite would have had Magnet Pull. I don't think I wrote anything down for Raichu, but that's just because he would have it would have been an ability that wouldn't have mattered. So it would have had no relevancy in the fight. So why does he come in second place? Well, he's certainly got a couple more wins over Whitney. For starters, he beats Whitney. But the one other person he does ironically beat, and this is weird to say, is Wattson. Now, if you were to say, like in the original games, who I thought would have won between him and Wattson, I probably actually want to lean towards Wattson. My neck trick just has better stat lines than most of his Pokemon. But the fact of the matter is, you've got all of his Mon at level 25 and 26, the Raichu specifically, and the Raichu has an attack that's designed to take down that Magneton, being a Steel type and a Fighting type move respectively. All these guys are gonna frankly just kind of trade barbs with each other though, because it is electric versus electric, but the counter to that is, again, you got Swift, you got Sonic Boom, you've got non-electric attacks on these guys. And yeah, you have that a little bit with, like, say, Wattson's rollout on his Voltorb, but that Voltorb is going to probably go down a lot quicker before that ever gets to go off. So you're going to have to go self-destruct, and that's still not going to take down his Voltorb because it's got a better stat line. Then Electrike is frankly not that strong, so it's probably going to go down pretty quick. Probably might even not be able to take down the Voltorb anyway. So that leaves you with the Magneton, which would be able to take down the Voltorb, but then he's going to bring out Raichu to take it down pretty quick. And then it's Manectric versus Magneton and Raichu. And Raichu, if it does end up going down, is going to take a lot of hit points from that Manectric, and that would leave it for the Magnemite. So, you'd think, all right, he's got a good clean sweep so far. So what's going wrong here? Well, let me break it down for you real quick here. Like I said, this is the team Wattson uses, or Lieutenant Surge uses, in my opinion. Level 25 Voltorb, level 25 Magnemite, and level 26 Raichu. Well, what happens after that? Well, if we go all the way to Diamond and Pearl, his strongest, still can't compete with Maylene's weakest here. And Maylene is, and I better be sure I just didn't hit something by mistake. Okay, I didn't say, I thought I hit something like stop record by mistake. And Maylene, sadly, just the Meditate alone has Drain Punch, Confusion, Detect, Meditate. Machoke has Brick Break, Leer, Foresight. By the way, I determined her strongest team was actually her Pearl team, not her Shining Pearl team, surprisingly. Because her Lucario's got better like um better balance of moves, including Bone Meringue. And that's really what it came down to. That Lucario with Bone Meringue can wipe out his entire team like that. Well, what about Fantina? You'd think Fantina shouldn't be quite as difficult to handle, except Fantina being Fantina is actually more difficult because all of them have moves that are just ghosts are immune to. Fighting type double kick, sonic boom, swift. So the only moves you actually have are your electric moves. So you just factor that into a battle of attrition. Plus the Dust Skull has Will-O-Wisp, which is it sucks. Hypnosis, Confusion, Sucker Punch on the Haunter. Magic Leaf, Shadow Ball, Psybeam, Confuse Ray on the Miss Magnus. No, he can't beat her. Then what about Burgh? Again, the problem here is typing, because his ace Leavanny grass is resistant to electricity. So, unfortunately, electric is just not strong against Bug. I mean, it's not weak, but it's not strong. The fighting type moves on Raichu, the double kick isn't going to do much. So, then that Leavanny's going to come. Grass will still put things to sleep and just kind of cleave through stuff. So, and that's assuming he's got more than one mod still available after going through all this, because I can guarantee you, despite not having any strong strengths or resistances to each other, they are going to be with Rock Blast on that Dwebble, a decent defense, and Sturdy, meaning you're getting at least one attack off of that thing. Plus Mega Drain on the Shelmet, and Aerial Ace and Endure on the Carablast. Yeah, I know you're taking a couple of those weaker mon with you. So yeah, he's not getting through Burgh, sadly. Same issue with Maylene. You're just going to be completely outmatched. Maylene's literally has a level 32 Halucha at the third gym. Kalos, as much of a problem as Kalos has, it had a big escalation between your first gym leader and your second gym leader, and this just followed that trend. It's like, and Halucha outspeeds everything on Surge's team. Now, granted, its flying typing does give it a weakness, certainly, but flying press may very well knock something out before you're ever able to get a shot off on that. And that's assuming that you're, again, have anything to fight with beyond Raichu, because Machoke and Menfu are out-level everything on your team, or Endurance Surge. So, yeah, Surge isn't beating Korrina. Then you go into Kabu. Again, not quite out-leveled. You're about the same, except the Center Scorch is a little higher. The problem is, though, you just have a full attack list here. Like, there is no issues here whatsoever in terms of like move pools, because that is the one problem. Spoilers: his is the only Let's Go team I believe I put on the list, if I'm not mistaken. But it was the team I thought was the strongest. I do believe that. So that being said, you added Intimidate onto the Arcanine, and you pretty much have a team that's going to cleave through his team, because he's only got one fully evolved Mong, whereas this entire team is fully evolved. So Kabu would beat Surge as well. And last but not least, Iono would beat Surge, because even though you have one mon who's neutral to electricity, I believe, with Wattson, she's got 4 extra mon. She's got Belly Bolt, which with that Electromorphosis would become a big problem very fast. You have Luxio again with Intimidate. And even though Miss Magnus no longer can turn into an electric type, it still has Confusion and a Hex and Charge Beam. Confusion and Hex alone, you're done. Like, this, Iono's team is dangerous. Now, the one advantage Surge did have here, though, is his team it has a better level cap than hers. But level caps aren't everything. While I was using it as an example of how he was losing, it doesn't give him the immediate win here. So, I do think because of things like Electromorphosis, again, I'm on with Intimidate, and no actual real weakness to electricity on this team, I would certainly say, yeah, she would probably beat him. So he makes it into number 9. So Surge makes it into the number 9 spot. Whoop, let's just get you right there, buddy. But then, who do I got in my number 9 spot? Well, or sorry, number 8 spot. And in the number 8 spot, speaking of which, ironic out the ironic wazoo, we have Iono. Iono is only the 7th strongest gym leader. Now, why is that? We just went over. She's actually got a pretty good team, all things considered. She's one of the only third gym leaders, or third stage, I guess is, third gym leaders you face to have 4 Mon on her team. So that's impressive out there. And she's actually one of the only gym leaders in the entire Paldea region to do that. You don't get to that until, what was it? The 6th gym leader with Rhyme? You don't get to that until Rhyme. So I don't know. She's kind of a weird outlier. Now, granted, Paldea is open world, so you can battle anyone, anytime. So why exactly does she rank at number 7 compared to the other ones? Well, it's actually kind of interesting here, in my opinion, because 2 people who are much stronger on this list, I actually think she can beat. Now, and bear with me on this, but let's get through it. First off, her and Wattson are kind of just a little bit of a tie. They're about the same level. They got about the same Mon on the team, same amount of Mon on the team. Her levels are a little higher, like consistency-wise, but his move pool is far greater. So I do think she would lose to her, or she would lose to him. But, and this is weird to say, Maylene without having, think about this for a second. Iono, without having terrestrialization to turn into electric type, actually gains a stronger edge against the fighting type gym leaders. Because now she still has an immunity to normal and fighting type moves, which, luckily, that is quite prevalent here. Now, this was a tough call for me to make. This was. Because when I originally did this, there was such a tie that I had to really stop and think, okay, who would win in what battle here? But the problem I found for Maylene against Iono is the fact that things like Mon like Meditite and Machoke, I do actually think are going to be gone before you even get to Lucario. And I think you will still have, say, something like Luxio available to cut her Lucario's attack down. That, or Lucario's coming out early and probably getting so damaged that it's kind of an unfortunate scenario for Maylene, that by the time Miss Magius comes out and takes out the Lucario, you'll be able to then confuse Machoke and use Hex. So it's a tough call, tough battle. I do think, though, Iono does pull out a mild win. Now, that being said, against Fantina, no, you're probably not going to win against Fantina here. Just because you are out-leveled now, and she has all the counters you need for this team. She does, absolutely. Hypnosis, Confuse Ray. She's got everything, including a Miss Magius to take down, including ghost types to take down her ghost type. So she just has more of them. So she has more answers in case her ace comes out and gets beaten. What about in black and white too? Well, Burgh, again, I think it would have been close, but again, because of resistances, and I believe Ghost does resist Bug, weirdly enough, they all have moves that you should be able to get past that. Again, Rock Blast takes down that Wattrel very quickly. It takes down that Wattrel very quickly, so she's already going to be at a -1 advantage here. Belly Bolt can only do so much. I do think it would go down pretty quick. The Luxio would be a bit of a problem, but then if you just have Leavanny just kind of go... Leavanny, frankly, would just go to town, because even though it has Bug-type moves, if this will come back up in just a second. Yeah, even though it does have Bug-type moves, it also has Aerial Ace and Razor Leaf plus Grass Whistle. So it would be a closer match, but I do think Burgh would pull out the win here. Then the only other person I think she could outright beat in a fight is Maylene. Korrina. And this is actually much worse than what we had with Maylene, because she doesn't have any. Once once that Machoke goes down, Korrina is screwed, because she has no moves on any other Mon to take on ghost types. So that means she's kind of done. So yeah, unfortunately, Korrina would get clapped by Iono. And then finally, you would have Kofu. Now, I keep saying Kofu. Kofu's from Paldea. He's the next guy up, actually, in the 4th gym leader slot. Kabu. I keep saying Kobu, too. It's Kabu. Kabu would probably take down Maylene. He's just got higher level Mon with full move pulls. Intimidate on that Arcanine. Yeah, you're probably done after that. So Maylene, though, is our 7th strongest 3rd gym leader, in my opinion. She can be at about 4 out of 9 of them. Or 4 out of 8, technically, because she's the 9th. So then, coming in at number 6, we got... I did not do this in the right order here. Come back here. What the hell? What just happened? There we go. Oh, man. Sorry. Let's just shrink this up here. Yeah, spoilers. I didn't do this in the right way. I've been doing it before. But, yeah. Coming in at your number 6 spot is Fantina. So... Fantina, we've already established who she would lose against, but Fantina is not bad. In fact, she has one of the similar advantages to Iono, in which she would actually be able to beat one of the fighting type gym leaders. And again, that really comes down to Maylin and Korrina. Unfortunately, she really can't beat Maylin, because Maylin has far more. Let's actually get Maylin over here real quick. She can't beat Maylin because Maylin, again, has far more answers for ghosts, with like Confusion on Metatite, Bone Rush and Metal Claw, and Rock Tomb on Machoke. So, well, the Bone Rush and the Metal Claw are on the Lucaria. So she actually has, and she's higher level too than Fantina. So she actually has enough answers to beat Fantina. Not to mention just better stats from that. No, the one she does beat, again, for the same reason that Iono was able to beat Maylin, is Korrina, due to the fact that only one Mon on this team has an answer, any sort of answer for ghost types, but it's only with a rock type move, which means this thing would probably be going down pretty quick. After that, she's pretty much done, because she doesn't have any moves or abilities to allow those moves to hit. Unfortunately, beyond that, though, Fantina does fall short. Wattson, she's higher level than Wattson, yes. She has less Mon, though, and all of Wattson's team can have an answer for her. Rollout, if it gets going, would be a problem no matter what. Shockwave, Leer can still work. Even though it's a normal type move, status moves can still work on ghost types. And then you have Supersonic, Thunder Wave, Thunder Shock on Magneton, which would be problematic as hell. Then Thunder Shock, Thunder Wave on a Manetric. While I do think it would be a drawn-out fight, I do think Wattson would take that win. As I said, Maylene definitely could beat her. Again, unfortunately, Burgh was a tough call. Burgh's got one more Pokemon than she does. She's got him a little out-leveled, but not by much. And again, having something like Sturdy on Dwebble, so he can get at least one attack in with a feint attack. That feint attack can make all the difference, especially with Sturdy on there. By the way, I don't include the items they usually have on here. So, yeah, I think it would be close. Plus Mega Drain on the Shelmet, would just be irritating. And Leavanny's a fully evolved Pokemon similar to Mismagius. So this would be tough. I don't think she'd get the win, though. And then finally, once again, Kabu, if I can get his name right just once, Kabu, I think, would, again, kind of just cleave through the team a little bit. Again, just all fully evolved, so base-wise, stat total, they're just cleaving through the team a bit. And they all have moves that are capable of doing some damage. Plus, Will-O-Wisp on 3 of these guys is kind of throwing it back in her face a bit. So, yeah, no, Fantina is strong, but Fantina is not going to be, getting any higher than where she's at. All right, now coming in, we're now in the top 5, folks. So the top 5 coming in at number 5, we have our good friend, the artist turned bug gym leader. Uh, the come on, there we go. The artist turned bug gym leader, Burgh. So Burgh we've established already to be kind of a weird one in this scenario. He is certainly not weak, but he's also not insanely strong. And the problem really for him is I've gone over all the guys now he can beat. It was Whitney, Surge, Fantina, and Iono. Those were the ones I thought, honestly, he could beat. But after that, there's a reason he just placed comfortably in the number 5 spot, because he just he couldn't compete with the other mons. So again, or the other teams. So again, with where's it, Wattson. With Wattson, you think, oh well, that Shelmet is going to be able to handle with its rock blast. But the problem is Voltorb's got rollout. And yeah, and I have a feeling that Shelmet might be able to take down the Voltorb, but if it doesn't, that Shelmet might go down pretty quick. Otherwise, then it's kind of just back and forth. Unfortunately, he can status Burgh with thunder waves, and that's problematic to say the least. Because then that's going to severely put Burgh at a disadvantage, even with a resistance with Livani. He's got to deal with the Magneton, and that thing's going to be hitting with sonic booms more than it's going to be hitting with shockwaves. It's got supersonic as well, so it is certainly not going to be the best time for Burgh. So I don't think he can beat Burgh. Frankly, Maylin is just, even though they both technically have tight disadvantages against each other. Again, Machoke's got Rock Tomb. That alone is going to go through most of this team. And Boomerang, along with Force Palm, and Metal Claw is just going to be a menace. Just a menace. So unfortunately, Burgh is kind of SOL there. Korrina has a flying fighting type move because it's both types. And your Hawlucha is going to outspeed. It is certainly going to be problematic, along with the Rock Tomb that Machoke has. And then Kofu literally has both a level. Kabu has literally a type and level advantage. Like, he is going to completely make mincemeat of Burgh's team. So yeah, Burgh comfortably sits at a number 5 spot. So then coming in, let's shrink you down here there, Burgh. Hey there, guys. So then coming in at the number 4 spot, we got our old jolly Electric Master. The guy who built new Mauville himself, Wattson. So Wattson, we got Wattson here. Wattson is a weird one. It's amazing that he made it this far with Mon as low level as that, really and ultimately. But the problem just comes down to that he's got the same problem Wattson does. He was able to beat Surge, Whitney, who was it? Sorry, Whitney, Fantina, and Iono. That was it. Oh, sorry, Whitney, Fantina, Burgh, and Iono. The other ones, like Surge, that's who we lost to initially. Maylene, that's who we lost to initially. That's who we lost to. So I'm like, he can't compete. It's just as simple as that. He can't beat. He's already lost a couple times, and he can't beat her. Just out-leveled, out-muscled. You can't beat Korrina either. Out-leveled, out-muscled. And you can't beat Kabu. Now, Kabu is the one where he could have stood a chance, but unfortunately, even his strongest leveled main trick is not stronger than his weakest level Ninetales or Arcanine. And you have Intimidate again on the Arcanine. So any physical moves, which these guys do have, are going to be completely cut off the heel. So unfortunately, yeah, it's Wattson at number. It's Wattson at a comfortable number 4, in my opinion. But speaking of guys at a comfortable number, finally, Galar did not get the number 1 spot. Kabu. Hello, Kabu. How you doing there? Now, Kabu, we've been over Kabu before. Kabu's pretty strong. Kabu's actually very strong. In fact, all these guys pretty much tied for the number 1 spot. They all won and beat the same amount of people. But the difference here is simple that the people they lost to are what really determined it. And unfortunately for Kabu, unfortunately for Kabu, both Maylene and Korrina, I think, would beat him in a fight. And what this comes down to strictly and simply is both those Machokes in a rock tomb and all of Herman are over leveled compared to his. You have a level 32 Halucha for God's sake. That even with an Intimidate Arcanine on the team, it's they're only 25. She's got a full 7 levels over that. And then not to mention the level 28 Machoke. That thing is going to just clean. Center Scorch is done. And a level 27 Machoke, respectively. So, yeah, unfortunately, between these two, Kabu just cannot, does not have a leg to stand on, unfortunately. Which now brings us to our number 2 and our number 1 strongest third gym leader. And you see me hovering over it, if you can see through all these pictures. The answer to that, folks, is very clear. I think the number 2 strongest is Maylene. Now, why Maylene? And obviously that means I have Korrina as the number 1. Why? Because technically, Korrina's team has less moves on her guys than Maylene. Level-wise, they're not too far off, so what gives? What's the deal here? Well, it actually comes down to the fact that even though she's not too far off in terms of level, she does have a level 30 Lucario and level 27 Machoke and Meditite. The fact is, all her weakest are weaker than Korrina's weakest, and even her strongest is a level lower than 2 levels lower than her strongest. That's one slap against her. Fake Out is a great little starting move. It's going to put a dent in. Then Power Up Punch and all these things is problematic. The Meditite might last a little bit, but it's not going to last for long. Halucha, though, frankly, is going to cleave. It's going to be the problem. It's going to cleave through a lot. Because, frankly, being fighting type means that Bomer and a flying type means that Boomerang is neutral. It's not going to do a damn thing. Drain Punch is going to be neutral because of the flying. So is Force Palm. Metal Claw is the only thing I believe is... Actually, it's going to be... I think everything is basically going to be... I think it's. I believe it should be resisted because steel is neutral to fighting. Actually, so yeah. Ultimately, Korrina, thanks to that flying press specifically, that flying press. If she starts with Halucha, which she doesn't, but if she were to, the Machoke and Meditite would be gone immediately. Then you could swap out, go Minfu, fake out the Lucario, and then just come back in with Machoke, and then just finish off with a Lucha. So even though Korrina does lose to a couple people on this team, just due to type advantages and some similar leveling, ultimately, I would say Korrina is the strongest third gym leader you would face. And so, everyone, that is the... Thanks for watching. That is the strongest third gym leaders in Pokemon, in my opinion. Who do you think is the strongest third gym leader, though? Do you think I did this right, or do you think I messed this up? Let me know in the comments below. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.